I hope my videos inspire you to make your own story to share out of a tale shared with you. My videos on making and sharing stories are part of YABS TV for Schools by the Young Alberta Book Society, YABS. My name is Tololwa Mollel. I'm a sharer of stories through my books, plays, and stories I perform to audiences. Make a story to share out of a shared tale. How? Why? I show you in these videos with preliminary drafts of stories I've written out of tales that have been shared with me. When ready, I'll perform these stories to audiences. Use my story drafts, preliminary as they are, to inspire you to make your own story. Why make and share a story, and how? I'll give you answers. But first, why do we share stories? We share stories to connect with each other, to be inspired and to inspire, to be touched and to touch, to be amused and to amuse, to learn and grow and to teach, and to provide food for thought. We have a need to share stories. We like to share stories. Stories that we find good, stories that we think are worth sharing. The better a story, the happier we are to share it. Where can you get a story to share? Well, one place is a good tale that has been shared with you. Shared with you by your parents or family members, your teachers, your friends, on stage, in social get-togethers, on TV, online, in jokes people tell, tales that may be old or ancient or not, that may be called folk tales, legends, myths, fables, or nothing. Tales that may even exist also in books. How do you make a tale shared with you into your own story to share? Well, you develop it. How? Write it out. That's one of the ways. In my experience, before I can share a story with an audience, I first develop it through writing it from a tale shared with me. That helps me to make the tale into my own story. I put in what I want, what my imagination whispers to me, and what makes sense. I put in expected ideas that come knocking, uninvited, and usually those are the best ideas. I put in new thoughts and themes. Then fussily, I rewrite and rewrite until I think the story is ready to perform to audiences. I don't share my story word for word, the way I wrote it, but from my memory of what I wrote and rewrote. Because I've been so wrapped up in the writing and rewriting, I find it easier to recall the way the story flows. Because I've worked again and again on it, I find the story has burrowed in to become part of my own life experience. The written story is not an actor's script. It only guides me. I hope my videos encourage you to, first, make a story. Choose a tale shared with you to work on, one that appeals and is meaningful to you. Through writing, make that shared tale into your own story. Think it out. Let your imagination whisper as you write it. Add new thoughts and themes, and if necessary, characters. Rewrite fussily. Remember, the better you make your story, the more eager you would be to share it. Make your written story into something that sounds like you are telling it when you read it, into something that sounds more like a spoken story, a told story, a story being performed, than one that is just being read. Read your story aloud to yourself like a story you are telling. Hear yourself reading it. Let your ears pick out what you need to rewrite to make the story into a better one for sharing. Let yourself be the teller or the teller and performer of the story, and also the audience listening to it. You want to go as far as to share your story? Go ahead. Share it with the young and the old, with your peers, your younger siblings, your family, seniors, the public. The story I share in draft in these videos can be adapted to audiences of all ages. Get more tips on story sharing from my final video, Make a Story to Share Out of a Shared Tale, Thoughts on Sharing. The stories in the videos are in preliminary draft. The journey from a story you write to one you share with an audience is a long one. The story drafts in the videos are the start of such a journey for me. I'll be working some more on the stories, and they will change as I do so. When the stories are ready for an audience, they will change some more as I prepare and learn them in order to share them. They will continue changing as stories do when shared, whenever I perform them to a new audience. Now, in performance, I usually paraphrase, ad-lib, improvise from my memory of the written story. I adapt a story to the nature and age of the audience, to the length of time I have for performing it, and to the situation in which I find myself performing the story. So these drafts are the beginning of a long journey for me, as they would be for you if you follow the process I do when making and sharing stories. The more times I perform a story, the better and more confident I grow with it. And it can be the case with you too. But even at the beginning of my journey, you're welcome to my story drafts in the videos. You want to make your own story out of one of them? Go ahead. You want to share them as they are, or after you change them a little? Be my guest. You want to make your own story out of a tale shared with you in the past and not from my story drafts? Well, feel free to do so, using as a model my story drafts and the process I follow to make and share stories, if you think that would help. So, best wishes writing, then best wishes sharing. Thank you.